sat at the bar, nursing a cold beer and staring out into the crowded room. He had seen it all before, the fights and the drunken brawls, but something about the two men in the corner caught his attention. One was a taxi driver, a burly man with a thick beard and a surly expression. The other was a soap salesman, a slick-haired city slicker with a condescending smirk on his face. The old man took a long pull of his beer, watching as the two men exchanged barbs. The taxi driver seemed content to let the insults roll off his back, but the soap salesman kept pushing, his voice growing louder and more obnoxious by the minute. Finally, the taxi driver had had enough. He stood up, towering over the smaller man, his fists clenched at his sides. "You listen here, buddy," he growled. "I may not look like much, but I've been driving this city for 30 years. I know every back alley and shortcut, and I can get you where you need to go faster than any fancy businessman like you." The soap salesman just smirked. "Sure you can, buddy. But can you do it without smelling like a moose?" That was the last straw. The taxi driver launched himself across the bar, his fist connecting with the soap salesman's jaw. The room erupted into chaos as chairs were overturned and glasses shattered. The old man watched with a bemused expression, taking another sip of his beer. He had seen worse fights than this, but something about the taxi driver caught his eye. He was a proud Newfoundlander, with a stubborn streak a mile wide. As the two men grappled on the floor, the old man slowly made his way over, his hands held out in a gesture of peace. "Come on now, boys. Let's not make a mess of things." The taxi driver looked up, his face flushed with anger. "He started it, old man. He insulted me and my people." The old man nodded, his eyes twinkling. "I know he did, son. But you're better than that. You don't need to prove anything to him or anyone else. You know who you are, and that's all that matters." The taxi driver hesitated, his eyes flickering between the old man and the soap salesman. Slowly, he let go of the smaller man and stood up, his fists unclenching. The soap salesman scrambled to his feet, his face red and swollen. He glared at the taxi driver, his hands shaking with rage. "You think you're better than me, don't you? You think you're some kind of tough guy." The old man sighed, shaking his head. "No one's better than anyone else, son. We're all just trying to get by in this world. And sometimes, that means putting aside our differences and finding a way to work together." The soap salesman sneered, his lip curling. "Work together? With him? You must be joking." But the old man just smiled, his weathered face creasing with lines. "No, son. I'm not joking. Because in this world, there's room for all of us. Moose and soap salesman, Newfoundlander and city slicker. We're all just trying to find our way home." The two men glared at each other for a moment longer, before finally turning away, muttering under their breaths. The old man watched them go, his heart heavy with the weight of their anger and resentment. But he knew that someday, maybe not today or tomorrow, but someday, they would find a way to put their differences aside and work together.